Hey everybody, happy holidays, whatever you celebrate, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Festivus, whatever you're celebrating this time of year, I wish you a happy and healthy and safe one. Anyway, it's been a while, but the Movie Man is back. This time I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about a TV series. And the TV series we're going to talk about today is Night Gallery. Now, I'm not going to talk about the entire series. What we're going to cover here tonight is just the original TV movie pilot that was produced in 1969. We're not going to talk about the whole series. I have yet to finish the entire series. Over the last, I don't know, can't tell you how many years, 20 years or so, I have watched most of the episodes, but not all of them. So I'd rather wait till I've seen each and every single episode of Night Gallery. If anybody's watched it, you kind of know hopefully some of you know the backstory of the series. It's uneven series to say the least. There are some very, very good episodes. My particular favorite one is called The Caterpillar, based upon the Oscar Cook short story Boomerang. That's my favorite one. But I still have a couple seasons to finish. So whenever I finish with that, I will talk about the series as a whole. Like I said, we're going to talk about the original TV movie pilot from 1969. And in the pilot, there were three stories. One was called The Cemetery. The second one was called Eyes. And the third one was The Escape Route. Now, The Escape Route is featured in the Night Gallery Reader, which is a collection of short stories from the series. The Escape Route is the first story in the book. It is the only short story of the three in the TV movie. So, here we go. Now, Rod Serling wrote all three episodes of the pilot. Each one was directed by a different person. And the first story in the trilogy is The Cemetery, starring Roddy McDowall and Ossie Davis. Now, this was directed by Boris Sagal, who directed the cult classic The Omega Man, based upon my favorite novel, I Am Legend. It is a loose adaptation of I Am Legend, I will say. Sagal also directed the classic TV miniseries Rich Man, Poor Man. So he had a very extensive TV and film background. Now, The Cemetery kicks off, as I said, the pilot, and it stars Roddy McDowall, who plays Jeremy Evans, a rather black sheep nephew in the South, who is out to get his uncle's fortune. His uncle is a sickly man, confined to a wheelchair, slowly dying. Ossie Davis plays Portafoy, the loyal family servant, and who carries himself with classic dignity, which is a direct opposite of how Jeremy carries himself. He is a cad, to say the least. And so Jeremy kind of wants his uncle out of the way sooner than later. Now, the stairway of the estate which they live is covered in old paintings that the uncle has done over time. And one of these paintings in particular is of the family grave site, or cemetery, if you will, and which is right in back of the house. So the painting is of the house, and then the cemetery right next to it. And Jeremy tells Portafoy, quite honestly, "I can't wait for the day when my uncle stops looking at this viewpoint and becomes part of it." Ouch. So Jeremy decides, like I said, to speed up the process. He goes into his uncle's room, throws open the window, which is a very, very cold, windy day, because he knows his uncle is very susceptible to colds. Well, he parks his uncle right in front of the window in his wheelchair, locks it. And like I said, his uncle is too sickly and too helpless to unlock it. And he closes the door. And he says, "I'm going to leave you here for a few hours because, well, that ought to do the trick." And the trick it does. The uncle dies. And Jeremy is, since he's the only remaining relative, he inherits the uncle's fortune. Now, an interesting little note here for you TV movie fans is there's an appearance here by Barry Atwater as the family attorney. Barry Atwater, for those of you who know something a little about horror TV movies, famously played the vampire Janos Skorzeny in the classic TV movie The Night Stalker. So it's really funny to see him out of his vampire makeup, but he makes a little brief appearance as the family attorney. Portafoy asks if he could stay on to help, in the house and serve Jeremy. And Jeremy says, sure, why not? Now, we go along a little bit, and we start to notice, or Jeremy starts to notice, that the painting on the wall of the house in the cemetery changes a little bit. Whereas you just saw the cemetery in a flat land, all of a sudden you see a mound, which was the coffin was put in. And he kind of looks at it and he thinks there's something a little amiss here, but Portafoy just says, no, it's your imagination. I don't see anything different. Well, slowly the painting starts changing. Jeremy sees the tombstone, and then he sees the coffin. And again, Portafoy just kind of says, it's your imagination, buddy. Sorry. Now, finally, these two just have one big fight, argument, and Portafoy just says, I'm out of here, bye, nice knowing you. Now, Jeremy is by himself. He has a young female companion over for a little while, and she leaves. And he looks at the painting again, and he notices the painting has changed yet again. The coffin is now upright, out of the ground. Slowly, the painting continues to change. The coffin is now open, and we see the dead uncle in the coffin. Now Jeremy is starting to slowly come unraveled, and as he's looking at the painting, he hears something outside. He looks at the painting again, and the uncle is now out of the grave and slowly walking towards the house. And we hear footsteps outside. Jeremy starts freaking out, screaming, and he sees the uncle slowly coming up the stairs in the painting, at the front door of the house in the painting. He runs upstairs, grabs a portrait of the uncle, and screaming at it, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead. And well, let's just say Jeremy has a little tumble down the stairs, and that's it for Jeremy. The front door of the house opens, and who should walk in but, yes, Portafoy. Portafoy was the one who was walking around outside, slowly trying to make Jeremy go crazy. Now we come to a next scene where Portafoy is paying a painter for the series of paintings that the painter did of the house and of the cemetery and of the uncle in various stages of coming towards the door. And the painter says, what would you have done if, he hadn't had an accident? Portafoy says, well, basically, he would have just gone crazy, so that's that. Well, it isn't that's that, because, in the world of Rod Serling, things have a way of coming around. And let's just say the Portafoy sort of gets, in a way, maybe what's coming to him, in a little revenge, shall we say, exacted by Jeremy. I'll leave it there. It's a fun ending. Now there's a little problem, if we could go back and take a look at it. The little problem is, namely, if that was Portafoy moving around outside the house, who was it switching the paintings as Jeremy keeps looking at him? We could maybe assume it was the painter, but we don't know. The cemetery is a good story to kick this off, the pilot off. It is extremely well acted by McDowell, who is a mean, nasty, rotten SOB of a nephew. And again, Ossie Davis, who brings class and dignity to this part. And like I said, Barry Atwater, George McCready plays the uncle, so it's a good cast. It's solidly acted. I said, Boris Sagal does a good job with the material. The little implausibility about who's switching the paintings aside, it is a solid start to the pilots. Which brings us to the second episode, which is called Eyes. Now, this is the one that everybody remembers for two reasons. The first reason, it stars screen legend Joan Crawford, who plays Claudia Menlo. And it was directed by a 21-year-old guy, his first ever directing debut, some guy called Spielberg, Steven Spielberg. Yes, I'm being silly. This was Steven Spielberg's first directorial effort. And of course, famously, Joan Crawford was not exactly thrilled about working with a neophyte. The crew was not exactly thrilled about working with a neophyte who had a sort of affinity for certain lenses and kind of weird, artistic shots. But he was recommended by Sid Sheinberg. Sid Sheinberg said to Joan Crawford, look, trust the guy. I have faith in him. He knows what he's doing. You'll be fine. So she did trust him. And, I guess, needless to say, Spielberg had a little bit of a career. Now, of the 3 episodes in this one, I am going to say that Eyes is the most implausible of all. It is the one with even a suspension of disbelief. Anyway, here's the story. Crawford plays Claudia Menlo, a woman who's been blind since birth. And she has built herself, she's wealthy. She has built herself an apartment building. And she has put herself as the only tenant in the apartment building. Why, we don't know. Menlo has installed herself in this apartment building all by herself. And we are introduced to a Dr. Heatherton, played by veteran actor Barry Sullivan. He's coming to Menlo's apartment building, and as he goes in, he sees an artist coming out who has painted a portrait of Crawford. Can't be a self-portrait. He's painted a portrait of Crawford, and he says, well, I've captured her physically, but there's one thing I couldn't capture: her cruelty. Seems that Miss Menlo's blindness has made her a bitter, nasty woman. Heatherton goes up, and Menlo tells him quite simply, Doctor, I want to see. I've heard about my lawyers told me about this experimental surgery that can be done, in which you take the eyes from one person and put them into another person. And Dr. Heatherton says, "You're crazy. That's risky. I won't do it." Well, Menlo is not a woman to be told no. She produces an envelope. Says her lawyer has a little bit of dirt on Mr. Heatherton, obviously about some rather questionable surgeries that he's performed in the past, and even hints at an affair that Heatherton has had. Heatherton says, yes, this would destroy my career and would destroy what's been a good marriage. So, faced with financial and marital ruin and professional ruin, Heatherton reluctantly agrees. And he says, well, now we just have to wait to find somebody. And Menlo says, well, guess what? I already have. He has been willing to sell me his eyes for the sum of $9,000. Now, the poor schlump who has decided to give Menlo his eyes is Sidney Resnick, played really well by Tom Bosley. Bosley is usually good in mostly everything. He could play the solid family man in Happy Days. Here he is just a poor schlump, down on his luck guy. And you do genuinely feel sorry for him. He's only in it for a few minutes, but he does so well with it. He needs the $9,000 to pay off some gambling debts that he has accrued. So the next day, the lawyer meets with Dr. Heatherton. Now, apparently the lawyer is also being blackmailed by Miss Menlo, who has dug up some dirt on him. And the other question I have is, well, who dug up the dirt on the lawyer then? I don't know. That's one of the questions I have about the plot. Anyway, Resnick comes in, they give him the $9,000 and say, we gave you a couple hundred extra, just for your troubles. Now, I don't know about you, but if a lawyer and a doctor are together, you would think they could come up with a little bit more than a couple $100. But, this was 1969, so I guess, that's the best we can do. Anyway, Heatherton performs the surgery, and we see Miss Menlo sitting in a chair, blindfolded, bandaged, I should say. And Heatherton is there, and he tells her, it went well. Resnick survived. He's now going to live his life like you've lived yours. She doesn't care. He instructs her how to take the bandages off carefully. Doesn't want too big of a shock. And she says, "Aren't you going to stick around?" And he says, "No." So he leaves. Now, here's the little caveat to this unveiling. It is 6 o'clock at night, so it is dark outside. Now, Miss Menlo earlier told Heatherton she wants to see. She wants to see blue skies. She wants to see trees and grass. She wants to see color. So naturally, you'd have her unveiling at night when there's no blue sky. And let's face it, this is New York City, so the trees and grass are at a premium. Anyway, she unwraps her bandages, and pow, she can see. She sees her beautiful chandelier, and just as she's enjoying the glow, darkness. Total, complete, and utter darkness. And she's not happy. And she's yelling, "Heatherton, you screwed up, you jerk, you..." Well, it wasn't Heatherton who screwed up, it was the city of New York. It's a blackout. And we go down and we see the streets are completely black. This being Hollywood, of course, this is the blackest of blackouts. There's just no light coming from anywhere. We do see a little bit of headlights and things, and, so there is a little bit of that. But Menlo's building is completely dark. She does go out onto the streets to try to figure out what's going on, but it's so dark she can't make out anything that's going on. And, well, she's not a happy woman. Anyway, it's the next morning. It's about 6 in the morning now. And she's sitting in her chair, and she wakes up, and she looks out, and what does she see? The sun. She has never seen the sun. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. She stands up, she's walking towards it. And as she's walking towards it, you can see a nice visual of the sun fading in her eyes. And she realizes, oh, I forgot to mention something. The eye transplant only lasts for 12 hours. Anyway, she sees the sun and it's starting to fade, and she's like, no. She walks toward the window. She wants to see the sun closer. She presses on the window, and this being Rod Serling, you can only guess what happens. Now, like I said, of the 3 episodes, this one is the most implausible and has just the silliest plot. First off, why would he schedule the surgery and unmasking at night? Well, the unmasking at night, why would he schedule it to where she'd be unmasked at night and not during the daytime when she wanted to see all these things? Secondly, the blackout, like I said, is the blackest of blackouts. Next is really who dug up the dirt on the lawyer. We know the lawyer dug up the dirt on Heatherton, but who dug up the dirt on the lawyer? So, like I said, this one just story-wise just is unfortunately so implausible. Crawford is, again, she's Joan Crawford, okay? No more wire hangers. She's good. I mean, she's a good actress. She does. You really, honestly, really don't feel too sorry for her. You might, I don't know, but I didn't. I guess I was supposed to because, blind since birth and it's not fair. But, she's just so mean and nasty to everybody that you just, Barry, like I said, Barry Sullivan is very good as the, put upon doctor, faced with a blackmail, which he kind of gives into. Yes, this being Steven Spielberg, there are some really artistic little shots there. which is something that Spielberg, in his early works, if you look at him, he really had a visual flourish to his work. You know, he is one of my favorite directors, but I think as he got older, he sort of lost that artsy, experimental touch, like he did, like in this, like in Duel. His early TV works were very, Something Evil he did. So this does have the early Spielbergian touch to it. So that's the second of the three stories. Now the last of the three stories, and to me the best one, is The Escape Route with Richard Kiley and Sam Jaffe. Now Kiley plays Josef Strobe, a former SS officer hiding out in Argentina. And Sam Jaffe is, one of his former prisoners. Now this one is again, like all three, I will say, are really well acted, and Kiley does a really good job here. Again, he is not made to feel any sympathy towards him, but it is sort of about, his, he is trying to escape from his past, trying to get away from who he was, but also in a way sort of still having that sort of sense of pride of, yes, I once was somebody, and, he sort of is teased by a local woman, once great Josef Strobe, but look at where you are now. Anyway, Kiley, or Strobe, I should say, finds a little bit of solace in the local art gallery. And in particular, one painting of a man sitting in the middle of a lake fishing. And the more that Kiley looks at this painting, the more he becomes immersed in it. And the more he becomes immersed in it, he could start feeling himself being part of the painting. He could feel the warm sunlight on him. He can smell the water. He could smell the spring air. And in fact, at one point, he goes into the painting, and we see him. Now he's the man in the little boat fishing. So he has a way of escaping into this picture. Well, Sam Jaffe's character is, continuously sort of coming after him, saying, I know who you are, And then finally the Israeli secret police catch up to him. And they are escorting him away. And he's like, look, I can, let me go. I can give you other people. I can tell you where all these other people you want are. Just let me go. Let me live out my days. I did what I had to do. And well, they're not having it. And anyway, Strobe gets away. And instead of heading to the bus station or the airport, which he knows are blocked, he goes to the art gallery. Now it's at night, the art gallery is dark, but he knows exactly the corner of the painting that he wants to be in. So he stands there and he says, let me in the picture. Let me in the picture. And we hear the police coming. We hear the guards coming. He's like, please just let me in the picture. And all of a sudden, he starts convulsing and disappears. Well, the police come, or the guards come, I should say, and they turn on the lights, and they're looking around, and they could swear they heard somebody, but nobody's there. And one guard asks the other, what happened to the painting of the fisherman? The other guard says, oh, they took that away. The concentration camp picture is there now. The final image is one to behold and is quite memorable. Like I said, this being Rod Serling, you can kind of guess what that last image just might be. Yes, Strobe has escaped, and he will now live eternity in the hell that he put others through. Now, this one was directed by Barry Shear, who directed the cult classic Wild in the Streets, which, if you haven't checked that one out, you got to check out Wild in the Streets. He also did another classic called Across 110th Street. So the first and third episodes were directed by veteran directors, and obviously we know Spielberg directed the second one. Now, all three of these episodes were scored by William Goldenberg, who wrote the music for Duel. He also wrote the music for a really, really fun TV movie, which you got to check it out. It's on YouTube. It's called One of My Wives is Missing, with James Franciscus and Jack Klugman and Elizabeth Ashley. You got to see that one. It's great. He also did the music for Helter Skelter. So Goldenberg did have a rather prolific TV career in scoring. Like I said, much like the entire Night Gallery series, the pilot movie is uneven. I said the Escape Route is the best of the three stories, followed by The Cemetery and Eyes. Like the series, though, all three have very good performances, all strong performances by veteran Hollywood actors. It also had a mixture of older directors and young directors. So the original Night Gallery TV movie I would recommend. I give The Escape Route an A-. I give The Cemetery a B, and I have to be honest, I give Eyes. I gotta be honest, it's a D. I'm sorry, Joan. I'm sorry, Stephen. I'm sorry, Tom Bosley. But it is worth checking out if you're a fan of Rod Serling, like I am. Don't expect the Twilight Zone, but like I said, this being Rod Serling, he does give you those Twilight Zone-esque endings. So check it out. Like I said, once I finish the entire series, I'll be back at some point to talk about the entire series. If you haven't checked this out, the Night Gallery Reader, it is a little hard to find. I got this on Amazon. I don't remember how much it cost, but it was originally there for like $80. I didn't pay $80 for it. But like I said, it's full of stories. The first story here is Escape Route, which is, like I said, one of the TV episodes of the TV movie. So that's it. Anyway, I will probably be back sometime in the new year. So I wish all of you out there in YouTube land, please stay safe. Things are getting crazy once again, so I hope you all are safe. Like I said, whatever holiday you are celebrating, I hope it is a good and happy one. And I wish you all a safe and happy New Year. Keep watching this channel, keep watching the movies, and this is the Movie Man saying, I'll see you in 2022.